All right, let's dive into what is, without a doubt, the most important race of our lifetime. And no, it's not happening on a track. It's happening in data centers, in boardrooms, and in government buildings all over the planet. It's the great AI race, and it is moving so fast and at such a scale that it is literally remaking our world as we speak. So let's get into it.
And look, you don't have to take my word for it. When the CEO of Google, a company that basically lives and breathes hype, says something is extraordinary, even by Silicon Valley standards, you gotta pay attention. This isn't just another tech trend. The people who are building this stuff are telling us straight up. This is a massive shift, as big as the internet itself. So what does a moment like that actually look like in cash? Well, it looks like this. Over $1 trillion. That is the insane amount of money that the major players are pouring into building the infrastructure for this new era. It's a number so big it's hard to even wrap your head around, but it tells you everything you need to know. This race is being fueled by an absolute tsunami of money. So in this explainer, here's how we're going to break it down. First, we're going to look at the corporate titans, the big racers leading the pack. Then, we'll zoom out and see how this is becoming a huge deal for entire countries. After that, we'll talk about the massive hidden costs, the big hurdles on the track. Then, we're going to bring it back to you and me and talk about what this means for our jobs. And finally, we'll ask the biggest question of all, where is this race even going?
Okay, so let's start with the racers themselves. You've got this small group of huge companies that aren't just running the race, they're literally building the racetrack. And what's fascinating is that each of their leaders has a completely different idea of what the finish line looks like. On one side, you have Elon Musk's vision, which is, well, it's pretty out there. He's talking about a future with so much abundance, all created by AI and robots, that we could actually eliminate poverty. He seriously thinks that work itself will become optional, something you do because you want to, like a hobby, not because you have to. Then you've got Jensen Huang from NVIDIA, and he's thinking about the plumbing of this new world. He says we're moving away from just finding information that already exists to a world where software is just generated for us, instantly. And to do that, he says we need a whole new type of building all over the world, AI factories, just churning out intelligence 24/7. And then there's Sundar Pichai, who's a bit more down to earth. He calls AI the most profound technology we've ever made, but he's also really honest about the downsides. He sees the amazing benefits, but he's also warning us that we have to get ready for major societal disruptions. That's a huge signal, right? Even the biggest cheerleader for AI is telling us to brace for impact. And these aren't just daydreams. They are backed by truly mind-boggling amounts of money. I mean, just look at this. Google is jumping from spending under $30 billion a few years back to over $90 billion this year alone. And you're seeing these giant partnerships, like Elon's xAI teaming up with Saudi Arabia for a 500-megawatt data center. This isn't just talk. This is a real, full-blown industrial revolution happening right now. But this whole build-out isn't just a competition between companies. No, the race for AI is quickly becoming one of the biggest geopolitical contests in the world, with entire nations trying to secure their spot as a leader of the future. For the longest time, everyone saw tech as a two-horse race, the US versus China. But now, India's IT minister is saying, hang on a second. He's talking about a new D3 world. And what he means is a future with three major tech powers: the United States, China, and, you guessed it, India. So how does India plan on getting a seat at that table? Well, they've got a pretty smart strategy. For one, they have a massive pool of young talent. Their startup scene has just exploded, from just 500 startups a decade ago to nearly 200,000 today. They're also aiming to be a major player in computer chips by 2032. But their real secret weapon might be their foreign policy. They call it multi-alignment. Instead of picking sides between the US and China, they're positioning themselves to be a trusted partner for everybody. Now, this whole race is moving at an absolutely incredible speed, but it is not a smooth ride. There are massive hurdles on this track. Building this future has these enormous, often hidden costs that we're only just starting to understand. So what is that true cost? We're not just talking about money here. We're talking about energy, about resources, and about the very real danger that we could create a new kind of digital divide, one that could leave billions of people permanently behind. Let's start with energy, because this is a big one. The power that AI needs is just voracious. Some estimates are saying that the US might need to triple its entire energy production in just 10 years to keep up. One expert even called that a physical impossibility with the grid we have now. So yeah, the AI revolution is basically about to smash right into an energy wall. And this energy problem has huge human costs. For places like sub-Saharan Africa, which already struggle with energy access, this AI race could be catastrophic. As this panelist warns, it's not just that they might miss out, it's that they could be completely locked out of the global economy for 100 years. That's creating a whole new level of inequality. And check this out. When experts were asked what they were most worried about, you'd think they'd say job losses, right? Nope. The number one fear, by a long shot, was the concentration of power. The idea that all this technology and wealth could end up in the hands of just a few companies and a few countries, that's what's keeping people up at night. Okay, so this all brings us to the question that's on everybody's mind. What does all this mean for us? For our jobs, for our careers, and for the kind of skills that our kids are going to need for the future that they're walking into? So we heard Elon Musk's wild idea earlier, a world where AI does so much of the work that having a job is basically optional. It's a pretty radical thought, but it is definitely not the only prediction out there. Sundar Pichai at Google has a much more practical take. He doesn't see a future where robots replace everyone. He sees a future of massive adaptation, where our jobs will change, our rules will evolve, and the most important skill we can have is just being able to adapt and learn how to use these new AI tools. And you know what? We already have a perfect real-world example of this. Jensen Huang points out that years ago, everyone said AI was going to replace all the radiologists. But the complete opposite happened. AI became a super powerful tool that made radiologists way more productive, so they could see more patients and catch diseases earlier. And that actually increased the demand for them. More radiologists are being hired now, not fewer. So, what's the big takeaway for parents, for all of us? Well, if you listen to leaders like Sundar Pichai, the game plan is actually pretty simple. It's not about trying to guess which jobs are going to disappear. It's about developing a mindset of constant adaptation. We have to learn to embrace technology, not be afraid of it. And we need to focus on learning how to use AI as a tool no matter what our job is. That's how we're going to succeed. So we've talked about the companies, the countries, the huge roadblocks, and what it means for our jobs. But that leaves one final massive question. As this race just gets faster and faster, where is the finish line? Where are we all actually going? And really, that's the central question of our time, isn't it? On one hand, you have the incredible promise of this future of abundance, where we could solve some of humanity's biggest problems. But on the other hand, you have the very real risk of creating something we can't control, with a concentration of power that could change society in ways we never intended. The race is on. The only question left is, where is it taking us?